This is a Gotham. The city breeds a special class of criminal. People die here. People like us.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's put a smile on that face. This is going to be my Titans Season 3 trailer. We have Batman all over the place. We have Joker. There's so many Easter eggs going on here, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. There's so much Batman and big DC stuff that's going to be happening later this year, especially because we have so many versions of Batman flying around. We have the Robert Pattinson Batman and Matt Reeves Batman movie next year. We have Ben Affleck Batman coming back in the Flash movie, and we have Michael Keaton's Batman also coming back for the Flash movie. In fact, they just dropped a teaser for Michael Keaton's Batman. I did a video for that a little while ago. But the major new characters that they have coming to Titans Season 3 that they've already announced all appear in the trailer footage here. So obviously the biggest being Joker. I was not expecting him. They didn't say much about him before this, but because we have Red Hood, you kind of need Joker to explain how Jason Todd becomes Red Hood. We do witness their version of Batman: A Death in the Family and Batman Under the Red Hood. Although those are two completely different stories in the comics, I guess they're kind of combining those to explain how this version of Jason Todd becomes Red Hood. But their Batman is back, obviously. Sir Jorah Mormont Batman from Game of Thrones, played by Ian Glenn. He's like the 50-something age Batman, so like a solid 10 years or so older than Ben Affleck's Batman. He's already parted ways with Dick Grayson a long time ago, before the events of Season 1. We just got done watching him become Nightwing and get his new costume at the end of Season 2. And I believe that Batman is also supposed to be taking on their version of Tim Drake. I think that they're going to do Tim Drake this season, or a version of Tim Drake, because he is the next Robin that Batman takes on after Jason Todd was believed to have died during the events of Death in the Family. Batman found his body, so at least when that story was first published, he really did die. Jason Todd was dead. They buried him and put him in the ground. But if you didn't read all the other comics that sort of went hand in hand with Batman Under the Red Hood to explain how he came back to life, Jim Lee was the one that started that during Batman Hush, so he just teased the idea that Jason Todd might be alive, but he didn't actually bring him back. It was just this big trick of Hush, and then his body just goes missing. Like Jason Todd's body goes missing from his grave at the end of the story. They didn't actually bring him back till after Infinite Crisis, and it was because of what Superboy Prime was doing with Alexander Luthor during that. He comes back to life, but then Talia al Ghul finds him. He's all confused, he doesn't have his memories, so she actually restores him the rest of the way using the Lazarus Pit, and then he becomes Red Hood. If you never watched it, Jensen Ackles actually played the character during the Under the Red Hood movie. It's actually a pretty great movie, but it was done during the early 2000s. Now Jensen Ackles is actually going to be on The Boys Season 3, playing Marvel's version of Captain America from the Avengers. It's sort of like a parody version of Captain America called Soldier Boy. He's giving off a very Hydra Cap vibe, so if you're a big Jensen Ackles fan, if you watched any of his TV shows, Supernatural, anything like that, or Batman Under the Red Hood, he's actually going to be doing way more comic book stuff. And he's actually going to be playing their Batman during the Long Halloween movie. They're actually doing a two-part Batman Long Halloween movie. The first part's going to be out pretty soon. The second part will be out a couple months later this year. So theoretically, you could call him like the 5th version of Batman that we're going to see in the next 2 years. They haven't said which actor is going to be playing their version of the Joker here during this. It seems like Jason Todd is in Gotham, breaking into Amusement Mile, working some case by himself where he finds this Jokerized dead body and is then killed or almost killed by the Joker here, or someone who's been Jokerized. It's not totally clear if they're going to use the Lazarus Pit explainer for how he comes back, or a similar twist, or if he's just on the edge of death and goes into a coma, then comes out and becomes Red Hood that way. There's only going to be about 10 episodes during Season 3, so they're probably going to have to speed run some of the parts of this Under the Red Hood storyline. But this is what his Red Hood costume looks like. Just like comic book Jason Todd, Red Hood, he goes from being a hardcore version of Robin to full-on using guns, killing criminals left and right without any kind of mercy. And just like in the Under the Red Hood storyline, it seems like during the trailer footage, he's mostly targeting the mob. The other really big new character they're doing is Scarecrow. They were hyping him up earlier last year, but he's inside Arkham Asylum here in the trailer where you see him. They're using him as kind of like a Hannibal Lecter style character during Season 3, where he's in Arkham for the most part, and they go to him for help on a case because he's an expert. And it also seems like someone might be using his fear toxin, whether or not he's actually connected to that, or if it's just some other criminal who's stolen his fear toxin. And I believe that's what this yellow vial is supposed to be, where you see the person's eyes dilate. that may or may not be connected to the Jokerized victim that Jason Todd is investigating in Amusement Mile just because of the way they cut the footage. Like you see Jason Todd in Amusement Mile with the Jokerized person going straight to the yellow vial of fear toxin. But their version of Scarecrow on the show is being played by Vincent Kartheiser, who most of you probably remember as Pete from Mad Men. Bit of a jump for him, so it'll be interesting to see what he does with the character. Then we finally have a new live-action version of Barbara Gordon. It's been a hot minute since we've seen live-action Barbara Gordon. I'm sure if Zack Snyder had continued with his Justice League sequels, we would have seen a version of her in the background. And if you actually saw my video on the plots for Justice League 2 and Justice League 3, we learned what the story of the entire Justice League Snyder Cut trilogy was going to be. So I'll add a link for that video down in the description. But at the end of that story, like the very end of Justice League 3, the end of the trilogy, we were going to flash forward to the future and we would see a version of Commissioner Gordon, but it would be Commissioner Barbara Gordon. They're kind of doing that with this version of the character. During Titan Season 3, she'll be Commissioner Barbara Gordon, just like on Batman Beyond. But as you can see, she's actually a pretty young version of the character, and she's in the wheelchair, so it's sort of like post-Killing Joke Barbara Gordon Batgirl. And she's kind of transitioned to more of an Oracle type of role. Because of the way they treated Batman during Season 1 and Season 2, we might also see some Batgirl flashbacks. Like, it would be weird for them to do Batgirl and not actually do Batgirl. It seems like just based on this actress's age, it's only been about 10 years or so since the events of their Killing Joke, since she was Batgirl. They haven't said much about what Nightwing's relationship with this TV show version of Batgirl is either, if they had a romance in the past or if they have some romance in present day. But if you didn't watch Titan Season 2, at the end of that, in sort of a post-credit scene, the end credits, Starfire's sister Blackfire shows up, who's come to Earth to kill her because she wants the throne of Tamaran, their homeworld. Starfire has a stronger claim to the throne than she does, and even though Starfire doesn't want anything to do with her people, she still wants to kill her to prevent her from potentially threatening her. For the most part, I think that Blackfire is supposed to be the Season 3 villain, and there is a lot of footage of Raven walking around with her on set with Raven's new costume. Even though it hasn't been that long since the show started, the actress who played her looks like she's so much older now. It's sort of like Millie Bobby Brown and the kids from Stranger Things. Like, you start the show when they're really young, and even though it's only been a couple years since they started the show, they all look way older now. But the idea now is that Raven has fully come into her powers, so she's way more powerful during Season 3 than she was during Season 2. Pretty much all the rest of the characters are back, and I believe they're also bringing Donna Troy back, who they killed off in the Season 2 finale. But if you haven't read any of the Teen Titans comics, Donna Troy is famous for resurrection and coming back from the dead. There was a whole saga about her true identity called Who is Donna Troy, because she had this really confusing backstory that didn't make a whole lot of sense because so many different comic book writers had done different things with the character across the eras. So during the modern age, they tried to bring a lot of that into continuity and simplify a lot of that backstory. So either they're bringing her back in flashbacks during Season 2, then maybe bringing her back to life, or they just bring her back to life and everyone's like, WTF just happened? Where'd you come from? Superboy and Crypto are back. The actor who plays him, also Bolt Way Up, he's the Connor Kent version of Superboy, the clone, so obviously his powers are a little bit different from, say, like Jonathan Kent's Superboy. They're doing more of a Jonathan Kent twist on Superboy on the Superman and Lois TV show, where even though they're doing the twins, like, it's a very different twist on the Superman mythos. You have twin boys, you have Jonathan Kent, who seems like he doesn't have powers, at least for now, and Jordan Kent, who's actually named after Jor-El, like that's where the Jor in Jordan comes from. But it's his powers who manifest first, and he's kind of like the edgier version of the character who you're kind of wondering if he might break bad at some point. Whereas some of Connor Kent's powers are a little bit different, like he's not quite as powerful as Superman. He has a lot of the same basic powers. He can't fly, but he's also not quite as weak to kryptonite as Superman is, because he has 50% human DNA that comes from Lex Luthor. There isn't supposed to be any kind of special Arrowverse crossover with Titans or anything like that this year. They did mention Roy Harper a lot during Season 2, so I'm assuming that if they get a Season 4 or Season 5, they'll probably do a version of Roy Harper at some point to pay that off, and probably a speedster like Wally West, because he's a big Titans character. But the show's starting in August on HBO Max. They said they're going to release the first 3 episodes on day 1, and then the rest of the episodes once per week. I believe there's 10 episodes total. They did the same thing with The Boys Season 2 episodes, like releasing a couple episodes on day 1, then everything else weekly. I will be doing videos for all that stuff. There's a lot of big comic book stuff happening this summer and later this year. Speaking of Superman 2, I've got a new Witcher Season 2 trailer video with Henry Cavill that I'll post later tonight. My full Loki Episode 3 video will post next week, and Rick and Morty Season 5 episodes are starting on Sunday. So my Rick and Morty Season 5 Episode 1 video will post Monday morning. So So happy summer, everyone. There's going to be a whole bunch of big stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks. Everyone click here for my full Loki episode 2 video, and click here for my Loki episode 3 trailer video. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys tonight.